Hi, welcome to Live and Local. I'm your host, Brian McConnell. And today we're here with a guest from the Neighborhood Centers of Johnson County. I'm here with Robin Armstrong and Tony Branch. Robin is the Development Director and Tony is the Youth Programs Director. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah. Can you just tell me a little bit about what you do and what your roles are there?
Yeah, so I handle the majority of fundraising and public relations for neighborhood centers, and I also run a small after-school program out of the Pheasant Ridge location.
Okay. What about you, Tony?
And primarily my responsibilities is provide oversight for youth programs, predominantly or mostly the youth programs that aren't before and after school programs, so some of our county-funded, grant-funded youth programs.
Gotcha. I understand that the Neighborhood Center of Johnson County goes back quite a bit, I think like 1973, and it has kind of an interesting background. Can one of you speak to that, kind of how it came about?
Yeah, so we're founded in 1973 in the what is currently known as the Pheasant Ridge apartment complexes, and back then was known as Mark IV apartments. And pretty much what happened was families came together out of concern for the neighborhood. They wanted to find a common ground, a space that people could go for resources. And out of that was born in this apartment complex was the Neighborhood Centers.
Oh, wow. So pretty appropriately named. It was the neighborhood kind of coming together, finding that there was a need for it.
Yeah, really our roots are really in the neighborhood. We're kind of a unique social service agency in terms of we don't really have like a specific cause or a specific calling that we attend to. We really focus mostly on being attentive to the needs of our community. So whatever needs are that's going on within our community, we try to be responsive to those. We're not, some social service agencies are crisis driven.
Sure.
Whereas we're a little bit more focused on what are the needs of the community and how can we best accommodate those needs and provide services and resources to the community members within our neighborhoods.
So just for people who aren't familiar with it at all, tell me a little bit, who do you serve? Obviously youth, but what's your normal client?
So some people think, even in the neighborhood, we primarily serve very young children, and we do. We have our child development program serves infants up to 4 years old, but we also serve school-age children, teenagers, and then we also serve young families, young mothers through our family support programs. We really are trying to, we don't focus on one particular age group or one particular neighborhood.
Sure.
We work out of the Pheasant Ridge neighborhood, but we have sites at Pheasant Ridge, Broadway, and we have a variety of off-sites all over Iowa City where we hold programming.
So is there different programming at each location, or is it kind of the same concept and just meeting the needs of that area?
Yeah, we do offer different programs in our different locations. We have child care available at our Pheasant Ridge and Broadway site. We also offer before and after school programs at several local elementary schools. And then we do off-site family support programs. We do home visits with family support workers. We do a lot.
Yeah, explain that a little more. Like, what would be a home visit? What would that look like?
Well, typically our family support workers generally work with parents who have young children, birth to 5, because those are the critical.
Sure.
That's a critical age for development and getting the kid on the right track. So they work with parents who have birth to 5, and they just try to help them, through the parenting process, how to be effective parents, things to identifying their kids and how to support their development as they get older. That way that when they're ready for preschool and kindergarten, that we caught everything, that we addressed everything, and then that whatever supports and services the child needed at that point in those developmental ages, that they were given those resources or the opportunity to have access to those resources.
Sure. Are there any particular programs that are going on right now that either of you want to kind of talk about, or we're kind of headed into the summertime?
Yeah, we're really knee deep in. At least I feel like I am right now in terms of youth programs. Majority of our programs become pretty expansive in terms of youth programs in the summer. We have programs going on at Weber Elementary and Lemmy Elementary, where we're serving between those two schools 70 kids. Then we have the Mark Twain before and after school program and the Grantwood before and after school program, and they're serving about 120 ish kids each. We partner closely with the school districts in all those programs. One of the things that we really recognize with some of our neighborhood youth is that the summer, oftentimes, they don't have those supports and those academic enrichment activities, and then what we term the summer slide, where they actually take a couple steps backward from their peers who have access to resources. So we
More
really want to
stable
continue.
resources,
Yeah,
sure.
we really want to continue that what they support what they've been learning in the school year and transition them through the summer. We continue to offer those opportunities to have access to academic resources and enrichment activities. That way, when they enter school in the fall again, that they're not behind their peers, but they're at the same level and they're continuing to progress. So, those programs are pretty heavily geared academically. But we have some fun programs too, where we're doing some enrichment programming for some of our neighborhood youth at Broadway and Pheasant Ridge. We have a youth leadership program that's geared for those middle school ages. That's really a transitional time for a lot of kids, and really trying to get them to really identify what type of person they are, what type of leader they are, and how they can, move on to be productive citizens and really
Sure.
kind of take on those middle school years and know what they're, and feel confident about themselves and that leadership opportunity. And then we have the YES program as well, which is really a pre-teen employment program. We recognize that some of our neighborhood kids, again, lack of resources, don't have the same opportunities as some others in terms of gaining employment and understanding how to go about finding employment. So we provide them an 8-week internship program where they earn $50. 4 of those hours is spent on work site, and then 2 hours is spent in a life skills or social support group, and 2 hours is spent with Goodwill refining their soft skills, their soft job skills.
So you just work with like local employers to do things like that?
Actually, most of the work sites are at the neighborhood centers. Yellow Velo.
Yellow Velo is actually a really great feature that we're going to have this summer.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
So Yellow Velo is going to serve our youth employment program. It's going to be a concession stand and bicycle rental that will be at City Park.
Okay.
It's located right outside the park. We started it last summer for a couple weeks, but it was only open at the end of the summer. This summer, as soon as the City Park pool opens, we'll be opening along with it. It has been delayed because of some issues in the city, but it will be our Yellow Velo concessions and bicycle rental will be open. And the great thing about this is we're going to be able to serve, we're going to have Oasis food, some local foods. We're going to have
neat.
snacks, and we'll offer bicycle rentals to families and park goers. And we'll also be employing some of our YES kids. So we're really focusing on youth employment with it. And I think it's going to be a really fun thing for some of the kids to get out and be able to work in the concessions and see their peers. And
Will that help provide some funding to the neighborhood center too? Will you?
yeah, so we're hoping that the stand becomes self-sustainable.
Yeah.
It's our first, year summer with it, but we're hoping that it can be something that can be sustainable to where we can employ, the youth that we serve through programs like YES. And it'll be open from 9 to 5, 7 days a week.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we're really encouraging families to come, rent bicycles, grab a bite to eat, even people who work over at the university or work in the area. It'll be a really good place to get a snack or get some lunch. And it'll have the benefit of having our youth work at it. And they won't just be working, like they'll be kind of mentored and even learning how to show up to work on time and set a schedule.
Yeah.
Fill out a timesheet.
Is that your staff that kind of administrates that as far
Yeah,
as?
we'll
okay.
have staff, we'll have some coordinators out there that will be working with the youth and operating the stand.
I also want to say too that YES program is really in part, it's a partnership with the county. Johnson County Social Services and Neighborhood Center, really we're the key partners in the YES program. Latasha Massey and I have been doing this program for the past 3 years now, and really it's really rewarding these kids get this first time experience, work experience, and most of the kids that graduate from this program, because you can only be in the program for 1 year, so you can't duplicate the program
Sure.
year after year. Go on to employment. I walk into fast food restaurants, or I'm walking, around downtown. And a kid
Grocery
will,
store,
Yeah,
anywhere.
and I'll
Yeah.
run into a kid, and they'll be wearing a McDonald's shirt or Arby's shirt or something, and I'll say, "Hey, are you working?" "Yeah, I'm working." And they just speak. They speak to the program and say, the experiences that I got from that program, and the tools that were given to me, and the information that's provided to me in the soft skills class really helped me land this job. So it's a program that's proven and is really working. So I'm really excited about the program for sure. It's one of those programs that I get really tickled about. So
Yeah, and also we'll, speaking of Yes and the Yellow Velo, we're reaching out to the community for volunteers. If anybody wants to come and help us run the bicycle rentals, help mentor a kid, that'll be welcome.
So what are you looking for in volunteers as far as ages or qualifications or anything like that?
We're probably looking for, people, adults,
Okay.
who are willing to, maybe have some experience with retail, but pretty much would just be assisting in getting bicycle rentals, passing out helmets. We're just starting it, so it's kind of going to be up to our coordinators.
Sure.
But yeah.
And we can definitely let people know before we're done as well, but just right now, how can they get in touch with you, or if they are interested in volunteering?
Yeah, they can contact me. They can go to our website. We have a volunteer section on our website that gets our volunteer coordinators' contact info,
Okay.
and when they have volunteer applications, so they can specify that they'd like to work with the Yellow Velo this summer.
Wonderful.
and there's other areas too in terms of neighborhood centers that we definitely could utilize volunteers in a number of different ways. From tutors to reading buddies, to, helping out with community events and those type of things. The one aspect that we look at, we live in a community, a university-driven community. We get a lot of university students who want to volunteer and who come to volunteer, but I think this year we're really making a big push for more community-based
Sure.
volunteers for a couple reasons. They're invested long-term in our community. And sometimes, especially with the volunteer youth relationship, I always speak in youth terms.
Sure.
Those sustainable relationships that happen that are over a time period longer than a year are much more impactful for the youth than volunteering for a 6-week period or
And then they're gone and
and
never
then
see them
gone.
again.
Yeah, a lot of the kids that we work with, that's something that's a part of their life where people come and go and things are always in transition.
Nice to have a little more stability.
Yeah, having that stability, it offers so much more richness to their life and the impact that can have on the youth. So, that's one thing that we're looking at in terms of volunteers for our youth program are more community-based, long-term volunteers.
So your programs as a whole, like how many employees do you actually have? How many volunteers? And not to put you on the spot, but like how many youth are you serving in the whole neighborhood centers of Johnson County?
Oh, boy.
Approximate numbers.
Approximate numbers.
On
Holy
a
smokes.
daily basis, probably at least 500
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
a day between our after-school programming, our child development, family support. But it
Yeah.
really varies.
And in the summer, just probably double or triple that.
So then how many staff do you have for that? Like actual paid staff?
We probably have about 40 to 50 paid staff.
Okay.
As-
In our specifically, like I said, I always speak in youth terms, and
Sure.
specifically in our youth programming. But that's where
Exactly, that just
sometimes,
shows the need
especially
for-
when you're speaking academics and the sometimes it just needs to be that one, and sometimes we can't accommodate that.
Yeah.
So that's really where volunteers come in to be able to have an instructor or a staff person in front giving the directions, but then someone there to support and help that youth
Yeah.
kind of interpret those instructions and guide them through the activity or the assignment or whatever it is. So
Sure.
And we live in a community with, I mean, we have lots of talented people with all sorts of resources, and we're always looking for people to come in through the year. We're always looking for tutors. We're always looking for people to share a skill. You know, and we're open to it. We're just, we're opening our doors to the community to come in and help. Specifically during the academic school year, tutors are always necessary, and in our summer camps.
Is there a minimum time commitment that you're asking from the tutors, or what's the average, I suppose?
We haven't.
Take what you can get.
We haven't in the past because, you know, but as we look at it more and evaluate what really would be more beneficial for the kids.
It'd be great to get to that point.
It's the long-term,
Sure.
volunteers. So I think when we met just a couple weeks ago as youth programs in terms of after-school programs as well as the grant-funded youth programs, we really identified that as, you know, one of the areas we'd like to really do better at is really recruiting those community volunteers and having it be more of a long-term commitment
Sure.
versus, you know, the university students are awesome, they're great, and I don't want to take anything away from what they have to offer, but we'd like to do it more in the benefit of the kid and have more long-term relationships.
Absolutely. There's a couple other programs I want to talk about. One thing, just overall, and what's the most rewarding thing about your day, and each of you?
Well, I work with an after-school program, and I've been with the Neighborhood Centers for almost 2 years now, and I've pretty much been with the same group of 15 kids for that years, just about, as well as all the other neighborhood children that follow me around. I think the most rewarding part of my day is just seeing the kids on a happy day. You know, we have struggles throughout the day. Every program has struggles, but then there's so many good days, and there's so many good days with kids. It's awesome to see when one of my kids, you know, really, you can see they really feel confident in themselves. We recently had a neighborhood event, a block party over at Pheasant Ridge, and we had a couple summer kickoffs. We had one at Broadway, and we had one at Pheasant Ridge, and my kids did a talent show, and they did some dances, and it was just amazing. It was just really fun to see them all get up, and they were really happy about it and really proud of themselves. And so just seeing them happy about a skill that they're sharing, or you know, a new talent that they have, or seeing them confident in themselves is really awesome.
That's neat. What about you, Tony?
I guess growth. I've been with Neighborhood Centers for 7.5 years now, so you know, I've followed kids through middle school and seen them graduate and go off to college. And one of the programs I do coordinate is a college prep program. So I guess really seeing kids come into high school not knowing exactly where they want to go and what direction they want to go in, and then seeing the end process where they're like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going, I know exactly what I want to do, and seeing them come back. That's probably the most gratifying part of my job, is seeing their growth. Even the little itty bitty ones, you know, coming up and then they're freshman or sophomore in high school, and it's like, wow, you were in programs with me when you were in 3rd grade.
Yeah,
now you're a sophomore in high school. You know, it kind of blows me away, and they're positive young people. I don't know if I can say in all my work at Neighborhood Centers if I've come across a young person that hasn't turned out to be successful and positive.
Oh, that's great.
So that's why I'm still with Neighborhood Center, just because I see that growth, and I want to continue to see young people grow and learn.
Absolutely. Tony, something you and I were talking about, or we were all three talking about before we started here, and that's the off-road biking thing that my brother and some other friends are involved with too. But if you guys want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I have branded myself the past 3.5 years or so as a cyclist. I'm a former runner, sprinter, I should say, not runner, because that's the confusion. Short distance versus long distance.
I don't do either. So,
so I really developed this passion for cycling, and some kids, I'd ride to and from work, or be going on a group ride after work with some other racers around town, and kids had some general curiosity about what it is I was doing, why I was dressed the way I was dressed, and the spandex, how far I was going, and when I say, oh, probably 30, 40 miles, they're like, oh my gosh, 30, 40 miles? You can do that in one night? So they had some general curiosity, and I just I said, it's not as challenging as it sounds. So I just went with that general curiosity and just developed a program to introduce them to cycling. And out of that, was born the Youth Off-Road Riders. Off-road disciplines are generally easier for a kid to get into. There's a lot of dangers, being out in the open road, but being on a bike trail, you don't have to worry about cars. You may well have to worry about a few tree branches whipping you in the face or,
Sure.
Running into the side of a tree, but they're mostly not moving things that
Sure.
you have to worry about. So that was born, and, Kevin, your brother, and Brittany and the local bike shops have, really Ryan Baker and Jeff have been, offered a tremendous amount of support to the program. Actually, Ryan donated, his fleet of mountain bikes that used to be his rental fleet. He just gave it all to us.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
Jeff is opened up his shop to be able to get repairs, giving us merchandise, stuff like that, especially for our fundraiser. So that's really taken off. It's hard to believe it's start of his second year, and our third year, I should say. And it's really
And there's
grown.
almost how many kids in the
There's
program
32
now?
kids in the program.
Kids in the program.
Seeing some progress there?
Yeah, I mean,
so-
we started with a group of 9 kids. I just really wanted to get my feet under me and really kind of, be mindful about what dangers present and what challenges are presented and how to accommodate those and how to, accommodate all the kids in that growth and learning more about the sport. So it's been awesome. It's been
The
wonderful.
local support has been
Yeah.
incredible. This year in March, we had our first fundraiser for Youth Off-Road Riders, and it was out at Terry Trueblood. We had a silent auction, and we had some hand-built bikes from the University of Iowa School of Art and Art History displayed. And just the amount of support, like Tony said, we got from the local bike shops and local businesses, the local cycling studios,
Yeah.
Max Effect.
Yeah.
Seems
It's
seems
great
like
to
a-
roll up to a race now, not with before it only about 4 or 5 kids race. Now I'm looking at this, we actually have a race coming up this weekend, and I was like, holy smokes, we might have to take 2 vans. So we're going to show up with about 12 to 15 racers, which makes a really large junior field. There's not a lot of juniors that race,
Yeah.
so
And
Yeah.
this program's offered free,
Yeah.
basically, to the kids.
and
The
that's
light
because of the local support.
because of the local
That's really
support. And cycling's an expensive sport.
It really
there's
is.
a lot of moving parts and just covering racing fees for kids. So we'll still be looking for more people, more support for next year because it is a growing program.
yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Any other programs that you want to touch on that are kind of going on this summer?
Maybe we could talk about last week we had a couple community events. Like I mentioned, we had 2 events, one at Pheasant Ridge and one at Broadway. They were kind of like summer kickoffs. And we're really proud of the events we put on. We have community events throughout the year, trying to get families out with their kids,
Sure.
just to have fun, just to meet each other. The purpose of some of our events are, we just want to get neighbors meeting neighbors. We want to have make sure people know each other, make sure their kids know each other.
Sure.
Kids and families, when they're out in the public and they see that their kids are playing with each other, then they're more friendly towards each other, and
Yeah.
it just makes the neighborhood a safer place. So we held some wonderful summer events over at Broadway with United Youth for Action for Youth.
Yeah.
And AmeriCorps helped coordinate this great event where we had lots of local organizations out, carnival games. At Pheasant Ridge, we had the fire department out. Herky was there.
Oh, fun. I saw pictures from that.
Yeah, so it was we really want to shed a positive light on the communities we work in, because there's so much positivity, and like Tony said, there's so much growth. It's doesn't always reflect that sometimes in the news, but there's always a positive side to every story.
Yeah.
And just if you come out and see our families interacting and out and having fun,
It's not always what you hear on the
yeah,
news.
it's really nice to see.
So it seems like the overwhelming thing is, for one, how much support we do have in this community, but I think that's probably the number one takeaway from this, is that you need more, whether it's resources financially or just with people's time. And that's really kind of the call and what we'd like to have from this? And if you want to, again, just give like the website or where that they can go if they're interested, and just
Yes.
maybe talking about it if they want to know if it's going to be a good fit for them.
Yeah, so you can check us out at it's ncjc.org.
Okay.
You know, you can find out more information about our programs. You can find more information about volunteering, jobs. We hire a lot for our youth programs. You know, we'll be hiring again in the fall. You know, and also where to donate. You can donate online. We can always use donations for our summer programming. We can always use more support. We have so many families to serve and so much going on in the community. We can always use more.
Wonderful.
I guess one of the things I always like to think of, you know, we're one community in
Yeah.
a sense, and we're not two separate communities. And community helping for the greater cause, the greater good of the overall Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty community is, you know, it goes a long way. And a lot of times our families move here for a better opportunity for their children to have that growth. And oftentimes it's looked at a little bit negatively, but you know, they're just trying to provide the best for their kids. And if we as a community support that, then we're building good citizens.
Yeah.
That will in turn probably reciprocate that care and that generosity to others.
Wonderful. Well, Tony and Robin, thank you both so much
Thank
for coming. That's all the time we have for today. I've been your host, Brian McConnell, with Live and Local. Please tune in every Wednesday night for a new episode, PATV Channel 18. Thank you very much.